Coffee Talk. I am your host, MISHUMA SABA, M.SABA, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. Stay tuned. Peace. And welcome to Coffee Talk Podcast, the Cultural Variety Podcast Show. And I am your host, MISHUMA SABA, M.SABA. And this is our Cultural Variety Podcast Show. How you doing? Welcome back. It is Monday, January 23rd, 2023. And I gotta apologize because every time I say, when I start my intro, I notice that my lips be like beatboxing. Can you hear that when I do the intro? Let me know if you can. But I noticed that. I used to be a good beatboxer too back in the day. I have, yeah. But it's January 23rd, 2023. How are y'all doing today? You're familiar with the show, I know. I know you're familiar with the show. We are in our second year. This is Coffee Talk Podcast. It's a cultural variety show. And on Monday nights, this is our cultural studies night. Cultural studies is very broad, so there's nights that we really going to get it in deep. And then there's nights where we want to just give honor and respect to our authors, our doctors, our scholars, our scientists. And then there's oftentimes we like to read a quick chapter or not a quick chapter, but a couple pages or maybe even a paragraph. But on Monday night, Cultural Studies Night, we like to give you the flavor. And that's what we do here at Coffee Talk Podcast. Let me know if I have a little glim in the camera, if you know what I mean, like one of those, like I'm not clear enough, maybe. Somebody was messing with my camera earlier, one of my children. Let me see if I can just do a few things here. But in the meantime, while I'm trying to get this settled, let me know how your day was. It's too much glare. Let me see if we can change that. Whoa, that's way too much glare. But let me know how your day was today. Let me see if I can. There we go. Nope, that's not the right lighting. Leave it in the comments. Let me know how your day was. Did you have a splendid day? Did you have a great day? That's a letter B. A letter A. A letter B is you maintained, you had a good day. A letter C is you had an average day, but it still was a positive day. A letter D is you want to wake up on the other side of the bed. And below that, we're not flunking anybody. You know what I mean? All right, look, I'm just trying to get the lighting right. So that's why I'm just asking that, my fellow viewers, stay with me. Podcasting is live. We are the new media. I like that a little bit better. What do you think? Let me know which lighting I should go with. Do you think I should brighten it? I don't like that light. How about that? Should we do it like that? All right. Well, anyway, because it is 8:30 or 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, a little bit after, this is going to be a good show. I know you guys are unwinding from having dinner. And, this is going to be a good show. This is going to be one of those shows where you can just really relax. We have a good reading tonight. We're going to talk about the history of soul food. It's like probably less than a 5-minute read. And it's out of the book called The Hood Health Handbook, written by authors CBS, ALIFE, as well as Author Supreme Understanding. So if you can see that book right there, We're going to read from page 63 tonight. But before we do that, we definitely want to go ahead and say that if you are interested in purchasing the book, you can go to supremedesignonline.com and definitely support our Black authors, our Black business. So I definitely want to say that off top. That's what we do here. That's what we do here at Coffee Talk Podcast. With our authors, our doctors, our scientists, our scholars, our everyday people. We give you the flavor. All right. So listen, if this is your first time tuning into the show, this is a Cultural Variety Podcast show. Monday nights is Cultural Studies Night. Wednesdays is our sports edition. That's when we give it to you nice, raw, and uncut. No, we don't care about who won or lost the game. We like to give you the different intricacies that goes on behind the scenes in the world of sports, especially involving our athletes. And then on Friday and Saturday alternate nights, we like to go ahead and chill, man. Come on through. Roll some, drink some, come on through and have a good time here at Coffee Talk Podcast. Friday, Saturday, alternate nights is what we call social hour. It's the grown folks social hour. We like to go ahead and have guests. We like to play 10-question Q&A. We also like to just have fun, laughter, and just, enjoying the fact that it's Friday, Saturday night. You know what I'm saying? Where else would you want to be? There's too much drama out there. Don't nobody know how to be cool anymore. Everybody wants to be shoot 'em up, bang, bang. You know what I'm talking about? So where else would you rather be but here, the Coffee Talk Podcast, Cultural Variety Podcast show? All right, listen. Before we start the show, we never start the show without giving it its flavor. You know what I'm saying? And we also like to give its wise words before we go into our show. That's a little something like our cream to our coffee. You know what I'm saying? So tonight's flavor is Colombian coffee. Why Colombian coffee? Because Colombian coffee is one of the most famous coffee countries in the nation. And so we want to give it that flavor tonight. We're going to go with Colombian coffee. Colombian coffee has the reason why it's one of the top coffee brands in the nation is because it has an excellent climate. It has an excellent climate. It has perfect soil. And it also, each year, or each season, I should say, it collects the right amount of rainwater. And so this is what produces a great coffee bean, such as the Colombian coffee. I like the medium roast. And that's why tonight's flavor is Colombian coffee. So wherever you at right now, if you're getting ready to work another shift, or if you're just a coffee lover, go ahead and make sure that you having used some Colombian coffee. And for those that ain't drinking Colombian coffee, go ahead and pour yourself some water, some wine, a smoothie, a beer, whatever you do. But come on in, kick your feet up, and enjoy yourself tonight here at Coffee Talk Podcast. Colombian coffee, that's what I'm drinking. What y'all sipping on tonight? Go ahead and leave a comment. Make sure you share the video. Let them know, hey, Coffee Talk's on, y'all. Come get this flavor. M.on. Come get this flavor. I fucks with him. That's how we talk. But so tonight's wise words for tonight is by no other than an entrepreneur, co-founder of Def Jam. He was born October 4th, 1957. When I think of this brother, I think of Fat Farm. When I think of this brother, I think of Run DMC. I think of Crush Groove. When I think of this brother, as being a philanthropist, someone that loves hip hop, someone that loves our people. No other than Russell Simmons. And tonight's wise words is Russell Simmons. Russell said this: Russell said, always focus on your effort instead of the results of the effort. I'm going to say that one more time. Always focus on your effort instead of the results of that effort. Always focus on your effort instead of the results of that effort. That's Russell Simmons. Tell me what you get out of those wise words. Always focus on your effort instead of the results of that effort. When I think of those wise words, my tongue keeps getting caught in my teeth, y'all, as I'm speaking. I apologize. Like I said, it sounds like I'm beatboxing. But when I think of those wise words, always focus on your effort instead of the results of that effort. It takes me to a place of when I see brothers already counting the dividends, already counting the results, how much money they can make off the idea. And they spend more time on a quick scheme come up that they overlook what efforts it's going to take. They overlook strategizing. They overlook planning. And a lot of that planning should be written down. I know some brothers that try to accomplish things without writing down the short-term goal and the long-term goal. It becomes difficult when you try to manage your path or whatever you're trying to accomplish by just keeping it in your head. Let me know what your thoughts are on that, people. Do you feel that you can accomplish more things if you keep the plan and the strategy in your head? Or are you one of those people that have heard that before, that old wisdom, that you write down your movements, you write down your goal? Excuse me. And that brings much more chances or much more results when you know each step of what you're trying to do to accomplish your goal. I believe that if you keep it in your head, then there's chances for you to lose track of it, to procrastinate. You know, that's what I think. What's your thoughts? Well, those are the wise words of Mr. Russell Simmons again. Definitely hip hop. When you look at Russ, man, the definition should just be hip hop. You know, definitely a pioneer, someone that I look up to, man, as far as his business acumens and his integrity. You know, I like Russ, man. You know, we ain't gonna talk about any negative things because we don't pump that on this show. This is new media. This is not old media. We big up ours here at this show, Coffee Talk Podcast. Camera's off tonight, y'all. My child might have been in my studio and been touching on my camera. But let me know what your thoughts are on the wise words. Again, the wise words is always focus on your effort instead of the results of that effort. And that is the wise words of Russell Simmons. Now, as I stated earlier, tonight's show is a reading that's entitled The History of Soul Food. So we're going to definitely jump into that. I'm going to turn the lights up in here. I apologize for the lighting tonight. I really do. I see a glare. Y'all see a glare? Let me know. Leave a comment. I'm just happy to be here with y'all, though. You know what I'm saying? Usually we would start at 6:30. I know. But, you know, I feel like, you know, 8:30, you're relaxing. You done ate dinner. Some of y'all's teenagers is watching Coffee Talk Podcast right now as they lay back, texting and listening to our podcast. Some of y'all probably rolling up a blunt. Some of y'all are probably are just relaxing and enjoying your home and enjoying the fact that you've accomplished what you made out to accomplish today. You know, you were focused, you achieved today, and now you're relaxing. All right, so this is the Hood Health Handbook, Volume 1. Again, the authors are CBS ALIFE Allah, if y'all can say that, and the other author is Supreme Understanding. You know, this was published, copyrighted in 2010, and this is titled The History of Soul Food. Before we discuss that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the book and give its introduction. Let me show you the book here, y'all. We're just like reading Rainbow, you know what I'm saying? We encourage reading for our people. You know, we definitely encourage reading. We the new media. All right, so it says here about this book, it says, it focuses on the status of health in the urban community, the wrong foods that make us unhealthy, the history of diet and health care among Black and brown people, focusing on how things changed for the worse, the diseases and illnesses that plague our communities, the holistic natural methods to heal and treat ourselves into wellness. This book here, the Hood Health Handbook, Volume 1, and I recommend everybody grab that book and put it in your personal library. Again, if you need to grab that book, you go to supremedesignonline.com. That's supremedesignonline.com. Let's go ahead and get read into the book. Again, this is a very short read. It's going to be about maybe 5-10 minutes. Actually, it's going to be 5 minutes. It's very short of a reading, but we're going to have a little open discussion at the tail end, as we always do here at Coffee Talk Podcast. Let's go ahead and begin. And let me get my highlighter out so I don't lose track of where I'm at. Every good reader, or every person that enjoys reading, I should say, not a good reader, but enjoys reading, and reading makes you become a good reader, as you do with anything you practice. But you should have a yellow highlighter. What's your favorite highlighter color? You know, I have yellow and orange. I don't like orange though, y'all. I just don't. It darkens anything I'm reading or anything I'm writing, any scripts that I'm writing, anything like that, to the point that I can't really see. So I just want to highlight that real quick. Okay. Is that better for the audience? For our viewers? For those listening, they're like, man, we just hear your voice. I ain't on YouTube watching you right now. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let's go ahead and start the story. The history of soul food. The history of soul food. Big Mama had a big heart attack, and you're still ignoring why. Excuse me. Let's go. I know everyone has their memories of the movie Soul Food, yet all can remember is the message I got from it. Let me start over. I do apologize. I know everyone has their memories of the movie Soul Food, yet all I can remember is the message I got from it, that food kills. Big Mama is a symbol of a person who is seen too often in the Black community, the woman who knows how to cook and is feeding the whole family into a slow or fast death. This slow death comes by food that is so-called good for the soul, yet screwing up their bodies with high blood pressure, sugar, diabetes, hypertension, and a host of other prevalent diseases. Because Africans in North America lost many aspects of their many cultures when they were enslaved, holding on to soul food is seen as retaining one's connection to Africa. The truth is, soul food nowadays has been warped and it ain't fully the same like it was during slavery. Now that your internet having and library and card possessing ass has access to more information, you need to take ownership of soul food. You need to make this heritage cuisine work for you instead of sending your whole family into an early grave or walking disease factory. What is soul food? Like jazz, soul food is a unique North American cuisine that is a direct result of the MAFA, otherwise known as the transatlantic slave trade. Enslaved Africans in North America combined different foods and new combinations, taking a little bit of this and a little bit of that, making for some good eating. The foods involved in soul food came from three main sources. Those three main sources were African sources, Indian, Native American sources, and white sources, European sources. Let's read about these three sources, shall we? African sources. Let's be clear. Whites didn't just steal people from Africa. In fact, in their brains, they weren't stealing people. They were stealing resources. A resource isn't just a person. They stole precious minerals, oils, etc. So along with the Africans, they were taking food. The Africans also brought over a lot of the foods on their own as seeds that were braided in the young girl's hair, or seeds that had embedded their slaves in some parts of their clothes. A lot of these foods didn't grow in the European climate, so whites were totally unfamiliar with how to cultivate the crops. And even in the Americas, they were totally tended by enslaved Africans. One of these crops was rice, which grew in a tropical environment like indigo that whites couldn't tolerate. Other crops that came straight from Africa were okra, sorghum, cola nuts, sesame seeds, and melons. Next is the Indian Native American sources. When enslaved Africans were brought to North America, many of them weren't down with being enslaved to white people. Some ran away or led all-out war and revolts against the white slave owners. This brought them in contact with the various Indian nations who were in the Southeast North America: the Cherokee, the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, the Creek, and the Seminole. Even those who remained enslaved still interacted with various Indians. In many cases, huge amounts of formerly enslaved Africans became part of the above Indian communities. This close connection allowed them to have a fruitful cultural exchange. One thing that happened is that Southern Indian foods and cooking techniques found their way into modern soul food cooking, which then became a way to preserve some of the cooking traditions that are mentioned in these Indian groups. Corn was a North American crop and was introduced by the Native Americans. Not only was corn a staple introduced into soul food, some of the very dishes that are soul food classics are actually Indian dishes, such as hominy, cornbread, grits, cornmeal dumplings, hush puppies. Some of the methods of preparing the food, like boiling the beans or curing meat over smoked hickory, are also Indian methods. The Indians also shared the meats that they hunted and trapped with blacks from abroad. This is how venison, rabbits, squirrels, possums, raccoons found their way into the traditional soul food menu. The scavengers aren't usually served on soul food menus nowadays unless one is in very rural setting. Native Americans ate very little meat to begin with. So they wasted no part of any animal. Thus, they are all organ meats, um, intestines, brains, liver. This crossed over to blacks in the form of dishes involving innards, brains mixed with scrambled eggs, and liver mush. Next of the three is white sources. The main things that whites contribute to soul food was the pig and the cow. By finding out that corn doubled as a key source of feed for the livestock, white Americans increased their meat production rate to a degree that was substantially higher than the rest of the world. This led to the current statistic where Americans eat 3 to 5 times the amount of meat protein than the rest of the world. This is what caused whites in the Americas to only eat certain choice cuts of pigs and cows because meat was in such an abundance. In Europe, during colonial times, whites used basically all the parts of their animals. Only in the Americas did the notion of eating high on the hog develop. Thus, while it is true that blacks were given the scrapes of the pig and cow, the reality is that poor whites were already eating pig intestines, head, cheese, and jaws. They eventually showed blacks how to prepare those innards of the pig and cow. What blacks did was introduce more intricate ways to season their parts with onion, garlic, bay leaf, thyme, etc., as whites generally were only seasoning with salt. In terms of vegetables, whites forced blacks to utilize these cast-off greens like turnip, beet, and dandelion greens. Kale, cress, cabbage, mustard were introduced by whites also. Ironically, many of the vegetables did not have their origin in Europe. They were vegetables and fruits that were found their way into Europe via the Silk Road trade, the trading route between Europe and the civilized world, Africa, India, Arabia, and the Far East. During Grecian and Roman times, so for instance, turnips and beets, usually considered white foods, actually came from Morocco. What is your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on the three sources of where soul food comes from? The African source, the Indian Native American source, and the white source. Go ahead and leave a comment. What did you have for dinner tonight? What's your thoughts on meat? Is your body starting to reject it? Are many of you starting to lean away from it? A lot of people are starting to go with a lot of different positive health initiatives when it comes to feeding themselves. Some are cutting down into small portions. Many are giving up pork, chicken, becoming vegans. What's your thoughts about this new vegan meat? What's your thoughts on soy? Tonight, I want you to go ahead and leave that in the comments. Continue to share Coffee Talk Podcast and also subscribe to the show. We are the show that provides you with the flavor 3 times a week. Tonight, this was an interesting read, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Did you learn something new tonight that you didn't think about? How about cabbage? Cabbage is being introduced during those times by Europeans. What's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on the fact that Europeans ate all of the pig And it wasn't just the slaves that started it, but we actually took those scraps. But a lot of us get lost historically, not understanding that, man, you got that from them. I know when I first heard that as a young man about the pig and how it was given to our people, I just quit right away. It takes discipline to do that. And I encourage people to do whatever they want to do, just eat healthy. But I know when I first heard that, that we was receiving the scraps when we were enslaved, and our people had to do what we had to do to survive. I just didn't want to disrespect my ancestors like that any longer, so I gave that up back in 1989. You know. But anyway, that's our reading for the night. Again, this is Coffee Talk Podcast, a cultural variety podcast show. We love to read small stories. We love to read paragraphs. We love to give props to our culture, our doctors, our lawyers, our scholars, our scientists. We love to give you our story every Monday here on YouTube, here on Facebook Live. We like to go ahead and give you the flavor. So to say the least, tonight I want to go ahead and just throw up the universal peace sign. I want to tell y'all to be safe out there, to make sure that you share positivity and good energy with everyone. And don't allow nobody to knock your energy. Do not allow worrisome to knock your energy. Do not allow disagreements to knock your energy. Do not allow frustration to knock you off your square. It'll be all right. You'll figure it out. But I do want you to take from tonight is that you are valuable and that you are important. And we appreciate you here at Coffee Talk Podcast. And we ask that you continue to support the Coffee Talk Podcast. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you come back because I like you. I like you being here. And it definitely improves our show. And we want to continue to give you the flavor. You know what I'm saying? And that's what that is. New media. Forget the old media that's always talking about our people. Nah. We salute our people. And we like to empower others. All right. So that's Coffee Talk Podcast. I am your host, MISHUMA SABA, M.SABA. And it's our cultural variety podcast show. I'll see y'all soon.